young Brazilian woman who works with literature in a country that crossed a very threatening political phase, especially to social minorities. A country that already went backwards in many levels and that once again practices acts of censorship against the most different artistic expressions, to the point where some men elected by people find reasonable to collect and put away books that discuss gender and sexuality simply because these topics don't befit with what they defend. So as a Latin American feminist and a literature supporter, I can't help asking myself every day if what I do has in fact any social relevance, if it has some potential of affective transformation. And now I transfer this question to you. What's the function of arts? Or is there a function for art, more specifically literature, into the feminist movement?
Well, I think it's immense, right? I mean, it's immense at all levels, you know, because literature, it's another way. It's another way of presenting and exploring political issues, visions of the society that we want to construct, analyzing our lives, analyzing, and so literature as art in general, it's a language that allows us to articulate experiences in a way that an abstract document many times is not capable of. I think that the most successful political documents are all that have a bit of artistic quality, you know. I always try, for example, to make my writing, you know, not dry, to make it a bit more creative, and to speak, because that's what literature can do. Literature can move you, can really, you know, mobilize your imagination, and the same thing with images. So I think that art is crucial. The history, the role of art in revolutionary movements, you know, has been continuous and very powerful. Look at the posters, look at the banners, look at the murals. This is the way people express themselves. And this is a very powerful, immediate way of communicating. So do not worry. Do not worry. There is it's very important. You know, it's very important. We need to use different means of expression. And, you know, each of us has different possibilities and different ways of reaching people. But it's very, very important.
Thank you.
Do you have a book to recommend for us?
You know, I have many books. But one that comes immediately to mind, because I translated it, is, do you know this Egyptian writer Nawal el-Saadawi?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I mention it because I got the title of this book.
Yeah?
From a book that she wrote. Yeah, that woman. The book that inspired the title is called Woman at Point Zero. Okay. This is the English translation of the Egyptian title. The Egyptian title is Firdaus. Firdaus in Egyptian means paradise.
Okay.
It means paradise. In English, the book has been translated as Woman at Point Zero.
Okay.
And I translated into Italian.
Yeah.
You see. I translated the same book into Italian. Firdaus. In Italian, I used the original title, Firdaus. So when I read Woman at Point Zero, the idea of the point zero was very important, right? Because it's the story. It's powerful. It's a short book, very, very powerful. I read it so many times. Very, very powerful. it's the story of a child who becomes, you know, a young woman in a very, very, very poor peasant Egyptian family, right? And it's all growing up looking for ways of escaping oppression, right? Very young, she's married to an old man that she hates. She runs away, and from this house, then she takes a job she takes a job, I think, in some factory or some place. And then she realizes that no, that's not, she's oppressed there too, right? Then she decides to become a prostitute. And she becomes she's able to become a high-class prostitute, right? And in the end, she discovered that too, it's very exploitative, and she's not liberated. And the book ends with her killing the pimp who is exploiting her.
Whoa.
Right? She's condemned to death. She's condemned to die, and she has the possibility of not being killed if she demands for forgiveness, and she refuses.
Whoa.
And she said, no, I'd rather be killed than to live in this world. And it seems like a defeat, but my argument, I wrote an introduction, and my argument is that this is a kind of a metaphor for the fact that we have to change the world, right? That her decision not to ask forgiveness, not to humiliate herself and say, oh, I was wrong, I did something. It's a way to say, there is no place for us in this world. There is no place for us in this world. This world has to be changed. Yeah. The book is very powerful, and it has many episodes that I think are very, there's an epistemology. Because, for instance, she has a beautiful description of the first time she has some money. Yeah. Right? The first time that she has some money in her hands, the first time she prostitutes, and she realizes that by doing that, she can get some money. And with that money, she goes to a restaurant and buys a piece of chicken. And for the first time in her life, she's able to eat the chicken without anybody looking over her food, right? And then she sees the waiter, the way the waiter looks at her taking out the money. And there's something about money she realized. It's very powerful.
Very beautiful.
Yeah. So Nawal al-Sarawi, she's one of my favorite Egyptian writers. Yeah, definitely. And she's a woman now in her 80s. The last books are not so good, but she's written some very powerful books. Okay. Also, her experience, two in particular. One, her experiences in jail. She was arrested under Sadat. Wow. And her experiences as a doctor. She was a doctor. Okay. And she has a book where she describes her experiences as a doctor. And it's very, very, very good. Yeah. So Nawal el-Sadawi.
Okay. Yeah. You are the only person in the world I'll let you give this spoiler of the end of the book for me, and I'm not angry at you.
I was almost crying.
Please tell me more about this book.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book. No, it's not a spoiler. I read it many times. I know the end, but it's moving. It's a soul-moving book.
This is the power of
literature.
Yeah. And with a little time, I can give you more books. I can send you more titles.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
This was lovely.